Just waiting for one more student to connect to their audio. Should we get started? All right. Well, students and attendees, thank you so much for being here tonight for the Ask Me Anything workshop. Excited to have you all here. We have a number of questions that students submitted prior to this evening's event. So what I'm going to do is take a few moments and then just call out each of the alumni so they can give their name and give you a little bit about background about themselves, and then we'll get right into the questions. So I'm going to popcorn it over to Lorena Ornelas Estrada.
Thank you, Sherry. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lorena Ornelas Estrada. I am part of the CBA Alumni Chapter, and I am a 2010 MHR major. And I am now working at JPO, have been there for a little over 13 years. And I'm happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much. Albert, I'm sorry, how about Albert Fatal?
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Thank you for hosting. I know that as a student, I really enjoyed coming to these events. So hi, my name is Albert. I recently graduated the MBA program, the College of Business Administration, and I completed my internship at the Federal Reserve, and I am now applying for a full-time role.
Thank you. Natalie?
Hi, everybody. My name is Natalie Brizuela McLean. I graduated FRL in 2015. I am currently the CBA Alumni Chapter President. Thank you all for being here. I am a contract management professional. I actually just took a new job and I started in October, so I will be going to Northrop. So that's my background here. I'm happy to answer any questions I can.
Thank you so much. Max?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Max. Sorry, I'm on my phone and at work on the other monitor, so I can't really open my camera, but I'll try once I finish the other meeting. I am an undergrad graduate in 2008 from Computer Information Systems, International Business and Marketing Management. And in 2012, I did my MBA. And I also, in 2014, I did my Master's in Civil Engineering, all of them at Cal Poly. So if anyone has any questions, I have been working with the City of LA since 2014, but also do private work for myself. So if anyone has any questions or wants to know anything I've been doing, feel free to ask me anything.
Great, thank you, Max. DJ?
Thanks, Sherry. Hi, everyone. I'm DJ Norman, and I've been on the board now for about 5-6 years, and I'm a graduate of MHR with Lorena, and currently work at what used to be formerly known as Facebook, now Meta. I'm in the HR field within Meta, so I lead up a team of recruiting professionals. Fun fact, I'm training for a half marathon, so you can work hard and play hard at the same time.
Great, and Alex?
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. Alex Su, I'm a class of 98. I was an international business and marketing major as an undergrad. I've had a lot of different roles in various industries and functions within marketing and consulting. And now I work for a credit union here in Orange County. Happy to share any information and advice that I can. Happy to see you all.
Great, thank you so much, panelists. So we're going to just jump right on into different questions, and I may call upon the alumni because some of these questions might pertain a little bit more closely or relate more closely to the field that they're in or the degree that they obtained. So the first question is, what do you suggest to make a career pivot go smoothly for a 10+ year working professional? How about DJ?
Sure. No, this one actually comes up quite a bit. And I would say, from one, I've worked with folks who have done this before. I think, I kind of take an inside out approach whenever I'm talking to folks that are looking to make this move. What I mean by that is typically your current employer will probably have the most bandwidth for you to try something new, right? And so if there's ways that you can either gain experience without changing your job into, gaining experience into the new area that you're looking to get into, oftentimes you can do that easier within the organization that you're with, even if you don't get to that job, right? You can ask to be on projects that involve that particular skill set as well within your existing company. And then, once you're looking, because that'll help you once you're looking outside of your organization for a different role. And then, a lot of the questions that we have today, a lot of the answer is going to be networking, right? And so who do you know in that new field? Are there individuals that you've worked with in the past that have moved into that field or in that field that you can leverage to gain insights and information, do informational interviews with, and just understand what's happening in that particular piece. The other part that I would say too is, it's a little bit of humility is necessary to make a big change after 10 years. You may have to take a lateral, right? Sometimes even a small step back to go forward fast. I think the small step back oftentimes is worth it because the skills that you have already acquired will help you accelerate faster than someone that's going new into that field. But I think you need to be open as well. I'll pause there to see if anyone else has any other insights there.
Yeah, if I can piggyback, DJ kind of hit the nail on the head there. I actually kind of experienced something similar to this where I took the long route to get my bachelor's. It took me 10 years to graduate, and while I did that, I worked full time. And so making a transition out of the, commercial or the industry, the food and beverage industry, transition to government contracts, and I was able to do so through SLCP, which is a contract club on campus. They had really good networking opportunities. And so I was able to get like an entry level role within JPL to do that. And like DJ mentioned, it's kind of hard when you're a subject matter expert for so long in one type, mine was commercial contracts, and here I am switching to government with no background. I did have to take a little bit of a pay hit because of that particular lack of experience, but it was a foot in the door, and I was able to definitely surpass, what I had, been making at the current company. And for me, I will say it's change is scary, especially after 10 years, right? But it's also super exciting, so don't be discouraged from that. And for me to make it the smoothest transition was really latching on to the people who are at that new company, the older people who have been there for years, who have seen it, like soaking up their knowledge and not discounting what they can teach you and how you can grow. So that was kind of something that helped me be successful in my transition, and definitely getting a mentor to help through that transition was essential.
Great. Thank you so much for those answers. And speaking of mentors, Albert, if you don't mind answering the following, how would one find the right mentor?
Sure. I know that when I was looking for a mentor, it was a very complicated, confusing, maybe even an intimidating process based on trying to connect with somebody who might connect with me and has the availability. So I know that when I was looking for a mentor, and I have two answers for this. One is an academic mentor, and the other perhaps a mentor professionally. So I'll start with the academic mentor. It may be wise to consider reaching out to a number of different professors, perhaps in your department, somebody who perhaps shares the same subject matter expertise that you are seeking to do within your field of academic career. And then with that, I probably would not rely on only reaching out to one or two. I'd probably reach out to a number of them. It's probably most comfortable to reach out to people that you actually know at the time, but I would not limit it to professors that maybe you know. It's most important to reach out to individuals that do share your interests, that can support your research, that can be supporters for you even into the future as you transition perhaps into grad school or professionally, because you're at some point gonna likely want them to write you a letter of recommendation as you transition to these roles. So you will likely be working with them closely if you are a researcher in the academic field. So because of that, you also want to perhaps consider a mentor that you synergize well with. Now, in terms of a professional mentor, this, a lot of the traits academically will likely also transition to professional, but professional, I would probably say select a potential mentor who holds the role that you have an interest in holding at some point, because they will be teaching you how to get through and to that role. Now, with that, once again, you will want to synergize very well with somebody to have a good communication network with them. And at some point, like your academic career mentor, you're likely going to need some letter of recommendation or perhaps positive words that they may provide you if you're selecting to shift over to a new job or maybe even climb the ladder in your existing role.
Yeah, really good information. Thank you so much, Albert. So maybe I'll toss it over to Lorena and Natalie. And are you using your degree?
Yes, absolutely. I did FRL, and actually, for those of you who don't know, in FRL, they have a contract concentration. And I had no idea about contract management before I got to the core classes. And, I don't know why. I don't care for numbers, so I really had no business being a finance major. So I went all the law classes, all the real estate classes, because that was kind of my jam. But it was really cool to learn that this was something that you can get close to law without having a law degree. And so I definitely am using my finance, real estate, law degree. Like the finance theories do come into use. I don't have to crunch the numbers. There are finance people for that, but to understand, the concepts that are related to contracts. So I definitely say that I am using that degree. I also went on after, because I loved it so much, to the George Washington University, and I got a master's in contracts because I am that contract nerd. But I would say definitely did not go wrong with my degree at Cal Poly. It has paid me back tenfold.
So I have a slightly different answer than Natalie. So as I mentioned, I am an MHR major. I started an internship at JPL with the full intention of using my major, and I actually fell into a business administrator role. So not MHR, so not HR related, but luckily where as a business administrator, I was able to mold my position to do HR functions within the organization that I was supporting. So I found a way of how to get, my major, to come into play. And then I did that for about 10 years. And then now I moved into the contract management field. So not related to MHR whatsoever, but I still try to find ways, not directly with my roles, but just in general, of how to apply my MHR knowledge to that. So, for example, if I have colleagues or just people that I know that I'm really close friends when they're like, hey, I'm trying to get a promotion. How do I go about writing my promotion? So again, I try to use what I've learned and what I know to help in different areas that are related to HR, but I just don't necessarily do it for a living.
Hey,
Great.
Jerry, can I step in?
Absolutely, Max.
So even though I am theoretically a civil engineer right now, my MBA coursework that I did at Cal Poly Pomona, even to this day, the last 10 years, I've used most of my MBA stuff in the project management stuff that I've actually used my civil engineering degree. Like right now, I'm negotiating an over $100 million project with consultants that we have to bring on board for the project. And the only thing I'm reviewing is contracts and accounting. And if someone's good with contracts, aka Natalie, I might want to hire you as a consultant to read the contracts. because literally have nothing to do with civil engineering until the project actually starts. So surprisingly, a lot of engineers in the field, especially at City of LA, we have been going back to school and getting our MBA degrees just because we have a lot of work to do with this one. So yeah, MBA people don't think it'll specific like when you see it, but does not matter what field you're in, you'll end up using some of our graduate coursework, especially finance, accounting, and then of course nowadays IT is in everything. Like you can't do any kind of work without it. So I have been on more than one occasion tasked with figuring out how to, especially with going electronic with COVID right now, because of my computer science background, the CIS coursework, I have been tasked to figure out systems, how to make it work and implement it within the city. So yeah, that will work all the time.
Thank you, Max. Yeah, amazing. And look at that, a job offer right in the middle of our event tonight. That's awesome. But Lorena touched on HR, and not only for students, DJ, but even for career counselors such as myself. There are so many students that ask, what are the best options to really get into the HR field?
Yeah.
Join Pyra.
Yeah, I would absolutely start there by far. Natalie is 100% correct. I think, the opportunities that are presented as a member of Pyra are just tremendous, right? So you're getting to engage with other, HR professionals, right, during U hour, and you get to meet those individuals. Those individuals oftentimes are promoting the jobs for the organizations that they work for. But they're also there to help connect you and to serve as mentorship as well. So to me, that's kind of step one. One of the things that I did also when I was at Cal Poly was I worked very closely with the Career Center, because guess who goes to the Career Center? HR professionals hiring for their companies. Wouldn't it be nice to kind of rub elbows with those folks, ask them what they do, ask for informational interviews of those individuals. You can present yourself there. And oftentimes, that's actually how I got my first job. It wasn't actually in HR, but it was an HR person who saw something in me that was interviewing at the Career Center, which landed me into my first HR job. So you never quite know the path that it's going to lead you down. And then I think the other piece is connecting with, alumni, right? So we've got just a large volume and of network of folks that are in HR, MHR majors from Cal Poly that are across all the different industries. And so tap into those, and it's really simple. It's, it goes like this. Hi, I'm DJ. I'm graduating soon from Cal Poly. I see you're an MHR major. You're in that field that I'm, looking to pursue. Would love to get 15 minutes to talk with you. That's it, right? And then go from there. And then I think you end that conversation with, who else should I be talking to? So you're always like, yeah, what I call, taking one and turning it into 10, or turning one into 20, or 20 into, 50. So that would be my suggestion.
Great, thank you so much. And I am now going to ask Alex a question. How many times did you switch your major?
Well, so back in the day, I have to admit I was a failed mechanical engineering major. I started off and math was too hard. So, I took the easy way out into the College of Business. And not to say that it's an easy path, but in general, let's admit it. There isn't like 10 calculus classes like the engineers, right? So I wasn't able to hack it like Max and become an engineer like him or my dad. So I did change. I did change it once, but I think part of the story is just I was a marketing major and I don't work in marketing anymore. And whatever your major is, I've had probably 7 or 8 different roles in my career, and I just kept learning and kept adapting. So I've worked in marketing, I've worked in consulting, I've worked in compliance, I work in strategy and projects right now. So I think getting your degree is just a start of your career. And there are many folks that I've worked across my career that did not really have a degree in that field. I mean, I've worked with a lot of IT professionals that were geology majors or maybe didn't have a degree. So like it's very possible to make any switch that you want, and particularly with the business degree, which is really like a Swiss Army knife. I mean, you can do anything and pivot to any area that you like.
Great, thank you so much for that. And in thinking about majors and getting closer to graduation, or maybe people want to pivot a little bit, Albert, where's my question? Here it is. When you think about internships and networking, and how would one get the best type of internship? And we obviously know networking is part of that, but how would one of these individuals get that best internship for themselves?
Sure, and I guess I can say that, you know, that internship is that fundamental process, transitioning out of your academic career to your professional career, as you likely know. So then you might ask, well, how do I get the best internship? And there really isn't, I would say, an answer to what is the best internship, because everybody varies. I think everybody's goals in life typically have different trajectories and routes. But I think there is a generic answer to that, and then I'll get specific with that later on. First and foremost, maybe you might want to reach out to Ms. Peters. She is the CBA advisor for the Career Center, and she'll be able to help you out significantly. Now, I know that while I was searching for an internship, I did a lot of research on that very question, maybe what makes the best candidate applicable to an internship. And I've come to learn that it's a full all-around package. I think DJ, being an HR, can probably confirm with me in saying that being talented just in academia is likely not going to enable you to land the perfect for you internship. I think it's much more important to be well-rounded, to participate in clubs, as we've mentioned earlier, to maybe hold an executive board leadership in a club, to volunteer. And with that, of course, it is important to have a relatively high GPA. But I do believe that people would probably want you to take maybe a 1 or 2 point deficit on a GPA in order to demonstrate other talents as a well-rounded candidate over getting that 4.0, or if you're really going extreme, that 4.1 GPA. Now, I want to be very clear. It's impressive and amazing if you get a 4.1 GPA. That is absolutely spectacular, and I encourage everybody to strive towards that direction. But if you get to this position where you begin considering not participating in clubs or taking on executive leadership roles within clubs, I don't believe that that's going to be as successful. So it may be okay to be well-rounded. Now, in order to find a good internship, Handshake is a phenomenal platform. It seems that so many large organizations and small organizations and everything in between, from large to small, and it's not just Cal Poly that uses Handshake. And Ms. Peters, maybe you can also talk a little bit about Handshake, the benefits of it. But it is that amazing hub that so many companies connect to, knowing that if they may be seeking for an internship, that's likely where they're going to find a student. Now, it's not the only place to find an internship. I know that that's where I found my internship. I also wanted to add, and I think this is very important, when somebody is looking for that best internship for themselves, you likely will not want to apply. This isn't 100% certain, but it appears that it's not likely that you're going to want to go with the rule of numbers and apply to 200 different internships with a generic resume. Again, DJ probably can attest to this. Rather, it's vital to have a highly specific resume that aligns very closely with your interest and what matches with the job itself. And then take some effort to reach out to the hiring recruiters themselves, probably on LinkedIn, and write a personalized message on why you are so passionate about this role, why you are a right fit, because of course you do need to have some relative skill in that role. So explain to them why you are the right fit and why you are the perfect suitability and tell them a little bit about the company, because I presume you're going to be very interested in this perfect internship for you. So you likely know a little bit about the company, which will probably demonstrate to a hiring manager that you've done your homework, you're a sharp cookie, and you're prepared to take on this role. So it's very important to have a full, well-rounded package. And I also probably want to open it up to the other panelists, because I'm sure there's a lot of information to be brought to this question.
Yeah, if I can just chime in, one of the really, really good resources you guys can leverage is following Sherry on LinkedIn, because she is always posting about jobs and internships. And Sherry, you didn't get to give your intro, but for those who don't know you, can you share a little bit, because you are definitely a valuable asset to the Cal Poly community and the alumni and students.
Oh, you're very kind. Yes, get on my LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, follow me. On Handshake, well, as a career counselor, I'm liaison to College of Business and happy to help students or alumni. So if you are an alum and you're looking to pivot or you need some help, the career fair is coming on September 22nd, and we do have a breakfast you can also attend. Thank you to Alumni Services for that. But in addition to that, Handshake has over 15,000 employers listed that recruit in some sort of capacity Cal Poly Pomona students. Many schools, Albert, you're correct, many schools utilize Handshake, but the employer needs to opt into the schools for which they'd like to recruit for. On probably almost any given day, outside of the height of COVID, we had between 2,000 and 3,000 jobs listed almost every week. Not everything's going to be California based. There are hybrid opportunities. There are remote, 100% remote opportunities, and then there are also in-person opportunities. It is a great time to be using Handshake. And I realize a lot of individuals prefer to use Indeed. There's nothing wrong with Indeed. I think it's a great tool so you can gather information, really find out about organizations. However, please note, if you're applying to a position on Indeed, chances are it's going to be listed on Cal Poly Pomona's Handshake. And if 0 applicants, and I see this all the time on Handshake, there are 0 applicants for that exact same job on Handshake, and there's 10,000 on Indeed, you have a better chance of getting an interview if you apply to the exact same position through Handshake. So keep that in mind. I know a lot of students have an aversion to Handshake. Oh, I have to do all of this, but it's more useful and employers do reach out. How come I don't have any applicants on Handshake? So please use it. It's beneficial to you. If you're only 1 or 2 or 3 people, they're probably going to interview those 3 people that apply versus going through Indeed and looking through, 100 or 200 or more resumes. So just something to consider. But I think DJ had a follow-up from something that Albert was saying.
No, I was just going to interject around. There's different types of internships as well. And so, there's your typical, summer internship. I know another thing that's progressing well as well, and you called it out, Sherry, was this whole remote internship. So it allows you to, to expand to different areas. And then lastly, like the micro internships, right? So micro internships might be more of just like a 4 to 6 week type of an internship where you're still, going to be asked to deliver impact, right, for a particular organization. But it's a shorter stint, but it also gives you an opportunity to have multiple micro internship experiences. Because to me, really an internship is a long interview, right? It's a long interview and it's an opportunity for you to get to learn what you like, what you don't like, and kind of hone the skills. The one thing I would probably clarify in the question is that the best interview is the one, the best internship is the one you land, right? And so what I mean by that is, be careful not to narrow your search too much, right? Leave yourself open. I agree with Albert, you shouldn't apply to 1,000 things, but don't be so specific to where you only apply to 1 or 2 internships, because that's also going to not give you the greatest opportunity to be selected. Just because the goal is to at least put yourself in front of that employer and sell yourself. If you never get to that point, right? Then we'll be back here talking again. But I think it's definitely leaving yourself open. Internships are to learn, right? And to hopefully understand what you like and what you don't like.
Any other alumni responses?
For Handshake, I can actually vouch for you. We do post by law for government jobs. We post everything on governmentjobs.org. All our positions, and we get 400, 500, 600 applications. And then for Handshake, we actually prefer, because most of the city employee jobs that we have is entry level. So it's preferred student, like recently either close to graduation or recently graduated. So we do have, actually, I think it's way easier through Handshake to get a job within either the city or the county than actually doing the government jobs website, where even the interview has the on-campus one is about 7 to 10 questions, half an hour, you're in, you're out, you're done. But the government jobs interview is actually a panel of 4 people, 40, 50 questions. It could go to an hour and a half. And your chances, unfortunately, are way slimmer than going through on-campus interviews, for at least for government jobs specifically. And then for internships, I think the best option you have, as long as you're okay with an unpaid internship, is get one of your faculty to introduce you to a specific company you would want to work. That's how I did when I got into PricewaterhouseCoopers for about 6 months. It was unpaid, but I did know if I wanted to do computer forensics or I did not want to do it, which by the end of the 6 months, it was something that, hey, not for me. I did my job and I switched to telecom. So in undergrad was actually the perfect one. And the way I did it was the degree advisor that actually put me in touch with people at PricewaterhouseCoopers directly. So that's a specific case for me. So if you have any company in mind that you think it's like a lot of people admire, were let's go work for Disney because their IT was getting bigger and bigger in 2008, 2010. Then you go into Disney and the salary is really small and the work's really hard. Well, a lot of people decided not to do that. So take a look at the companies you would want to work with, and then see they always have some kind of work, even if it's a project or anything. Even us with the city, we can't bring you on as an unpaid intern for a specific project. Right now, the biggest one, and we were in the news, we had a lot of student interns, was the 6th Street Viaduct. Unfortunately, not for good things. We had about 10 to 15 internships for that specific project, and they were from UCLA, Cal State LA, and Cal Poly Pomona mostly, because everybody else did not know about it. Everybody wanted the paid internship that the city offers, but that's only once a year when we hire, and then we keep them for a year. So a lot of people cannot do that, especially students at UCLA, because of the classwork. The coursework is very on a fast pace. And so a lot of people get the job, and then within 3-4 months, oh, I got to quit because I got to go back to school. So we try to avoid that. So just take a look. There's right now, everybody, internship means basically entry level. You'll do almost the same amount of work and you feel if it's something for you or not. That's how I see it. And nobody's going to blame you when it comes to an internship. When it's an entry level position, you don't really want to quit after 6 months because you don't like the job. So that internship, that's the difference. And I think that's very important, especially for your career, because you still have time. People are young. Before you graduate, you have time to figure out if it's what you want to do, or you want to completely switch, or you just want to, you don't know yet. So hopefully my 2 cents give you some idea.
Also follow me on LinkedIn.
Great. And
then if I just wanted to add real quick, so some insight. If you apply for summer internship positions, again, if you're just doing it as a way to try to figure out, is there something that I want to do long term, it's definitely, unpaid internships is a great, thing to do. There are a lot of paid internships also out there. So definitely, if that's something that, you need for yourself, look at those paid internships. The neat thing about summer internships is that those can potentially turn into year-long internships. And if the company really likes you and you're performing well and they like what you have to offer, they will continue to extend it and potentially that will turn into a full-time position. So just because it's a summer internship and it's, you know, short-term, it doesn't mean that that can change and go into a long-term if you're open for that.
And Sherry, I don't know if I sent you the info. We do have paid internship, and I'll be at the career fair presenting that. Management analysts, engineers, accountants, and if they look up the City Hall, even pre-law, I think they have something coming up with the city attorney's office. So
Great.
I don't know how much information I'll have by the time with the career fair comes around, but any follow-up question regarding internships that I can answer, and then if not, I can put them in touch with the training department for the city, and they can tell them exactly what. Mostly MBAs and engineers, we will have some kind of an internship within the city, and we're paid, so that's important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information, Max. Yeah, really, really important. Lorena, you are correct, because this past summer I met with a student who had a finance internship just for this summer. And they were going to have an evaluation and they had done really, really well at this organization. And they asked me the question, do you think there's a way I could extend my internship? Because I really like it and I'm not graduating until December. What do you think? And I said, well, you won't know if you don't ask. And they asked and they sent me a follow-up email. Oh, the meeting went great. I get to stay through December. So it does work. It does. I don't remember the student's name, but the face I'll remember, the name I forget, but it does work. So for any of you, if you run into that situation, just ask, because if you don't ask, you will never know. Great. Thank you so much. So, Lorena, how does one get their first job with absolutely no experience?
So we've kind of been touching on it, internship.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say, I've only had 2 jobs, well, 3 jobs in my life. One of them has been with the same company. So my first internship, or my first job was an internship, and it was for retail banking. No experience. I was in high school at the time. And, you know, like I mentioned, it was a short-term internship that was extended, and I was eventually turned into an offered a full-time position. And I stayed there for 10 years. Through that, and actually as part of Cal Poly, so fast forward, you know, I'm at Cal Poly. My second internship was at JPL. It was supposed to be a 1-year internship my junior year. It was extended into a 2-year internship into my senior year. And although after, like, once I was nearing graduation, I was told, hey, you know, we can't offer you a position at this time. My management at the time did route my resume for me. And funny story is, one other organizations within JPL found me as an interesting candidate and wanted to get me. They managed to pull a full-time position for me in my current organization that I was doing my internship for. So I ended up staying with them. So again, my first 2 jobs were as an intern with no background other than customer service, essentially. And then, you know, that I'm still at JPL, you know, 13 plus years later. And I went from a business administrator to a contracts manager, which is what I do now. So again, the internship definitely worked for me. It's the best way that I have found for myself, for, you know, with someone with no experience. You learn on the job, you get mentoring on the job, and, you know, I was blessed that it was a paid internship, so I was getting paid while I learned. So it was great.
Yeah, and if I can chime in, I had a different experience. I actually never went through an internship. What I did out of like high school, while I was going to junior college, I was working at a restaurant out of high school, and I was like, I want weekends off. I need a Monday through Friday job. I need an office, right? And nobody wants to like hire someone without experience. Typically, they always want at least like 1 to 2 years of experience. How do I get 1 year of experience if nobody's offering you a job to get that experience, right? And so I found the best resource was the school career center, because companies are specifically advertising for people without experience. They want to train them. They want to mentor them. The company I found was actually, the boss, the owner, actually wanted somebody without experience because she didn't want to deal with somebody that had bad habits. So she wanted to be able to train and mentor the way that she wanted, me to learn or whatever. And this is back in the day before, we were still using fax machines to, send our resumes out. And the career board was very manual. And I just went on there and I was like, okay, what's the highest paying? I'm just going to go for the highest paying job and take a chance, right? Like, you're never going to get it if you don't take a chance, okay? And definitely leverage, like, if you go to our Bronco Mentoring Network, we do have, entry-level openings that are posted there, Handshake, Sherry's resources. Definitely leverage that, because employers go to schools knowing that they're going to get people without experience. So don't be scared. Definitely come to our mock interview resume workshop that we have coming up. We will help you with your resume. We partner with the Career Center, and we are bringing in hiring managers and professionals from the whole College of Business Administration, alumni boards, the overarching alumni. So we'll have diverse professionals outside of College of Business Administration. So if you're really interested in getting that information and bumping up your game there, definitely encourage you to be at our event. And that will be in person in Ursa Major this year. So don't miss it.
Can I chime in really quick? So when I got my first job, it was just by miracle, because someone was looking for someone with entry-level computer background in telecom. And they contacted it was a Cal Poly alumni. They contacted one of the faculty at the CIS department. That person called me and said, hey, this guy's looking for someone. Do you want to send your resume in? It's not going to make too much money, but it's the experience you need, something to put on the resume for when you get your permanent job. That's how I got it. It was 1 year and 3 months. I ended up doing some telecom for Paramount students, for everything. It was really fun. Pay was crap, so assume that part. But at least I got to get to know people and get my actual working network, not just alumni or student networking body at that time, but people from the industry. And that was basically, that's what I'm saying, talk to faculty. I tend to be in touch with a lot of the faculty, both in the computer information systems, the civil engineering, and also the graduate programs at the MBA, to figure out what events we can attend, if we can invite students. So I'm always in touch with them. So you can just ask them. The last time was like 2 weeks ago, when I've got an email from a graduate student. They needed help through a professor. They needed help as a industry advisor for her thesis. So faculty is a really good point of contact, because some people do, like me, they tend to stay in touch with faculty long after they also retired from Cal Poly.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah, wonderful. Stay in touch with your faculty. So Alex, what questions should someone have in mind when they're networking with someone, and what strategies could an individual use while they're networking?
Yeah, I think some of the panelists have touched on this. Networking is really important. I think DJ talked about asking for a 15-minute interview or a bit of the time. The concept of the informational interview is I think quite prevalent and common these days. Usually are not reaching out and asking specifically about what's out there, but just really finding out more in general about the company or about the role or about the person that has a bit more experience, and perhaps ask for advice on what how they made it into their area, right? I think that every student or early career alum should have a bit of that elevator pitch, right? It's just in 30 seconds, what is it that you're looking for? What are the skills that you bring? And just be ready and prepared. So I think many of the questions are related to just finding out more about the opportunity, kind of expressing interest in a particular area. And, kind of like the saying goes, like luck is really when, preparation meets opportunity. So in many instances, I think throughout my experience, I've landed jobs because I think I was just lucky and at the right time and met folks through a job fair, or someone referred me to someone else that they knew. Applying for jobs, yes, you're going to have some level of success, but when you're referred, or if you're an internal referral, or somehow you have that personal connection, it's going to be so much easier to land something. So that would be advice. I'm sure other panelists have many more great tips in terms of networking.
Join a club. Seriously, I cannot state this enough. Join a club.
Yeah.
I did school full time during. I worked full time during the day, and I went to school full time at night. And I was like, "There's no way I can join a club." And I knew that it was very important to be able to land that job out of school. And so what I did was I met with the president of the SLCP club. I'm telling you, these clubs, they need student leaders, they need e-board members. So I couldn't be at U Hour, so I negotiated your person of social media. I'll do everything online. I'll order the shirts. I'll facilitate that. I'll leave work at lunch, drop off pizza for U Hour, and then in return, we coordinated that our e-board meetings were at night at the brewery. So it was a win-win for everybody. But really, I was able to network with them, get the connections in the industry, and land a job. So I cannot state enough. You need to join a club if you are not part of a club, and do not wait till senior year. If you can join it sooner. Outside of that, if you're an alumni, join our alumni association, network with us, come to our events. We have many of them. We have, Andrea can probably tell how many, or Hortensia, how many chapters we have, but the whole college, is there to support you. So I really encourage you to go join. This is soft networking. And the easiest thing you can do is reach out to a fellow Bronco. We're here volunteering because we want to help leverage that. And that's the easiest type of networking you're going to get.
Yeah. And also, besides the specific clubs that your major is related to, in my case, I had multiple options. When I became a junior, I ended up joining the Golden Key International Honor Society. And surprisingly, a lot of people in the industry either are members, like active members, even after they graduate, but they look really well when they see that on the resume. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I haven't figured that one out, but it's a fun club to join, and they accept every major. They're not specific, but it's a good group. I just do not know what the standard now is to get in, but I know it was when I joined, you had to be at least a junior status before you could apply. So that is actually really good. And they always, when I was on the board of them, every week we used to bring someone from the industry at U Hour or virtually to talk about their former, current members, but alumni. So they all have relationships with the college, and they go talk to a lot of campuses, not just Cal Poly Pomona. So with Golden Key, you can actually use other campus resources because they will help you once you're a member. So that was surprising for me.
Wow, all great information. So maybe this is for DJ and Lorena. What suggestions would you give someone who has applied to multiple job postings, but they never hear back or they get an automatic decline. And I hear this quite frequently from students or from recent alum. So I'm going to really listen in on these answers from the both of you.
Lorraine, do you want to take a stab at this one first?
No pressure.
Or do you want me to go first?
No, you know why I saw this question, and I always think of, and again, because JPL, right? We had one of our astronauts come speak to us, Jose Hernandez, and he shared his story of how many times he applied for the astronaut program and how many times he got rejected. He can't even count in like two hands how many times he got rejected. But his advice was never give up. If it's something that you really want in an area that you really, feel passionate about, don't give up. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is, yes, you'll get those rejections. You may not get an answer, but you move on. You move on and you keep looking. You network, you make connections. You follow up and you keep expressing interest. And then again, like even if it's not up in a position that you, again, don't close yourself off. Don't narrow your sights on only what you really want to do, but open yourself for other, potential career opportunities that may not be in your field of interest, but could potentially open the door to other opportunities down the line. So I'm a perfect example. I'm an MHR major. I wanted an HR position. That didn't happen. But again, it opened up doors for me.
No, I would echo everything Lorena is saying. The follow-up is really, really key. I think, sometimes we've lost sight that, that follow-up within that first 24 hours of interviewing or applying to a role is really key. I think if you're applying and you haven't gotten to the interview stage, like, what does that follow-up look like, right? That follow-up looks like, identifying individuals within their HR organization or the recruiting organization to, one, let them know that you've applied, and to express your interest. I think Max talked about it earlier, right? You have to express what you want, right? And say, hey, I just applied. I'm excited about this opportunity. I'm going to be a recent grad. So just that elevator pitch in your follow-up that lets people know you're eager and excited about the opportunity. And that's really what you can do, right? Just show your passion for the role. These days there are a lot of efficiency plays as it relates to the application, right? There's a lot of machine learning that tells, this person has enough words on their resume to kind of pass to the next level and so forth. So you are going to have to deal with that. One of the things I also suggest, going back to networking, but networking with intent, right? The intent is, if you're going for specific roles at specific companies, then target networking people that work at those companies who graduated from Cal Poly. Let them know, again, you're trying to find a warm connection, right? And that warm connection can turn into a referral. I've literally had people reach out to me who applied at Meta. I didn't know them, but they were a Cal Poly grad. Or we had another angle of just, a related instance. And I got to know the person, and then I referred them after they already applied. They got an interview, right? So they got a little step further, just because the referral is going to get them one step further. So oftentimes you're networking with intent, but you be honest about it. Like, be transparent. Hey, I'm reaching out to you because I applied. I haven't heard back. I'd love some tips. I see that you traveled the same course. Can you tell me anything about the application process? Can you tell me anything about the interview process to kind of help increase your odds? So that's what I would add to this one.
Sherry?
Yes.
You said that people got rejected automatic. You had that part in the question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So for that one, I actually do have an answer, because it does have a personality that they're
Max,
person that hire people in the initial phase do not know anything. Yeah.
you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
Sorry. Start that over.
Okay, it's my internet. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did have one of a good friend of mine that had the experience, had everything, and years in private, and wanted to come to the city. 6 months ago, he gave me a call. Hey, dude, you told me to apply for this job. It's entry level. I have way more experience. And because the way his resume was outlined, the personnel department deemed him unfit for the position. So what I told him is the best thing you can do, and you got to be a little bit cocky about it. Whoever rejects you automatically, if you don't have an issue, give them a call, ask to talk to personnel, figure out why you got rejected. Because if it's something standard that you can modify, they will reapply. They will let you reapply. But if it's something that is just a setting in the resume, the outline, they can tell you, and you can fix it for future references, because it can happen more often than you think. Then you might be qualified for the position, but because something in your resume didn't match, you got put in the do not hire pile for no reason. So that is personal experience for me. Through a friend that just happened like recently.
Yeah, it's really, to echo that, very important to read the rec and try to incorporate as much as you can into your resume. Like key phrases, there are automatic disqualifiers. Like if they say you need a specific GPA and it doesn't matter how much experience you have, if you don't have that GPA, that system filters you out. Those are just kinds of things that they suck. But for sure, you need to be able to tailor your resume. Don't just create a generic one. Make sure that it aligns with the job that you are applying to. I'm still really old school. I send cover letters. DJ, I don't know how you feel about reading cover letters, but I feel like it's beautiful and matches with my resume. And I think that gives me like a leg up, at least in my head, but you're the recruiter. So that's kind of just.
DJ, do you mind answering that? Because I do get a lot of students who ask, and I say, if you really want that position, write an awesome cover letter and attach it with your resume, so long as it's okay to do so, especially if you're going to reach out to someone personally via their email address, if you have a recruiter's email address. But
Yeah.
online, follow what it says for the application. But what is your take on that?
Yeah, I have an interesting take on this one. So one, I think first and foremost, the cover letter can never hurt you, right? So if you feel the need to do one, please add that in. It does add a personal touch, right, to your resume. Now, the answer that I would give you, if you're asking my team of 100 recruiters at Meta, do they read cover letters? Probably not that much, right? Probably not that much, because they're looking at matching software, they're looking at things, they're looking at the actual resume to see what types of skills you have. We probably look at the cover letter once we like your resume, right? Say, okay, what does this person have to say? Let's learn a little bit more about this person through their cover letter. But most people don't. But again, that's also indicative of the industry as well, right? So from a tech industry perspective, it's really more black and white, right, as it relates to your skill set. And so in some of the other roles, you might have a little bit more need to do that. But that'd be my personal take. I would rather spend the time, me personally, I'd rather spend the time networking and following up with people than writing a cover letter. That's how I would go about it and use that time. But I don't think it can hurt you at all.
Great, thank you. I do have one other question here, and maybe I'll pose it to anyone who would like to answer on the panel, but how does a person know when it truly is time to change jobs?
Can I take a stab at that?
I'll follow up with you, Natalie. Go ahead.
When you're waking up in the morning to go to work, it was a long time to change that job, right? Life is too short to be unhappy. Some people get stuck in that whole fear of change, especially if you've been at a job for so long. It becomes that mindset of better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. But oftentimes the next experience, it might be frightening, but it's totally worth it. So that's just my personal experience. Like if I feel like I dread getting out of bed to go to work, we spend most of our waking hours at work, that's a sign to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so similarly, I was gonna say if you find yourself unhappy with what you're doing day in and day out, clearly that's a sign that you need to move on. And it may not be the work, you may love the work, but it may be the people around you. So, or vice versa. So again, depending on your environment, it may also be, a sign that you have to move on. But if you're unhappy with either the people around you that you're working with directly or the job itself, then yes, you need to move on. Also, once you become, and this is twofold. So once you become a subject matter expert in your field and you know the ins and outs about it, and you're not in management, then you may want to move on. Again, just to continue learning, continue developing in something new. And again, just broaden that opportunity if you want and are interested in being in management, to open up that door for you.
Great. Thank you so much. And
Sherry, I know that we're kind of coming close to time, and people that are on the line live, maybe we can open up for questions that they might want to ask, get some interaction here. Don't be shy. We don't bite. We're virtual. Just kind of encourage that engagement, because we're here for you. We want to make sure that this is a meaningful event for you. We did ask for questions in advance, and so we try to get to as many as possible, but we don't want to be repetitive. If you've already heard it and you want to hear something else, let us know what you want. So we'll just open up the forum, maybe just raise your hand, and then Sherry, you can call on them.
The other thing I'd also say too, feel free to use the chat. If you want to drop in a question in the chat, we can also do that as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but this is your way to soft network, right? We're challenging you. This is learn by doing, Polytechnic here. Okay. Give it a.
In my case, you can catch me at the career fair if you want to ask me any questions.
All right.
oh, Jessica has a question for us.
Hi, I'm a recent alumni, and so I've been applying to a lot of jobs lately, mostly like internships, and I've been able to get interviews. It's just during the interviews, I'm like not so lucky and get that rejection email. So I know there's like more practice needed to do during my interviews. But do you guys think it's okay to maybe ask the interviewer some feedback after the interview?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. Can I just say, and I learned this from a recruiter, because it's really weird, right? And you get on, he told me, okay, ask how your interviewer felt about how the interview went. And it's so funny because they cannot lie to you. You can't lie to your face. They can't say like, oh, it's good. You know if they're lying, right? So you can get a feel. But then you get that in-demand feedback, and DJ, I'm probably like the worst person you ever have to interview, because I'm like, so how do you feel this interview went, right? And it's weird because I'm sure that's like they don't get a lot of people who do that, but I think it's definitely good, because a lot of times once they close that door, they don't really give you that feedback. And if you want to be able to modify, how you're doing, that might be an option. And another thing, as cheesy as it might sound, practice your interview with a friend. Like I had, when I went to JPL, I hadn't interviewed in like 10 years. And so I had a JPLer interview me, and I'm like, this is silly. Like, you're my friend, right? And then she was like, you're not finishing your thought. You got to practice this. And I'm like, oh God, right? So that's another thing that you can do. But that's just kind of my 2 cents, and I wanted to just share that because that was game changer. As soon as I started asking those questions from the interviewers, it was on-demand feedback.
Okay, thank you so much.
Can I chime in really quick? Is my mic on?
Yes, go ahead, Max.
Sorry, I don't know if it's working or not. Also, what Ellie said, if you're a friend of yours is doing the mock interview with you, you can also ask her to record you, because there's certain movements that involuntarily you do during the interview that puts off the recruiters. I always used to think of, like, even right now, I always have a pen in my hand because I am nervous talking to people, even right now. So find ways to see what you are doing subconsciously while you interview, because those are the things you might want to have to figure out ways to control it. One of the things that one of the people at the Career Center was telling me when I did the, I forgot, I don't know if we still have it, Sherry. We used to have those rooms where you could interview and they would record you on video cameras.
The mock interviews?
Yeah, it was one point or another. And one person told me, hey, when you go into an interview, you tend to use your hands a lot more than actual words. So they told me straight up, have a paper clip in your hand and always keep it with you, because that takes care of that part. So there might be something that you do unconsciously that you just don't know about it. But when you record yourself, you can actually see it and then just, watch it again and figure everything out.
Okay, thank you so much. That is great advice, because I definitely do get nervous when it comes to interviews. Like, my nerves are just really up there.
Everybody's like that.
Could I add
And
one thing to this? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Natalie.
I was gonna say, but you're very brave here. You asked us the question to channel
Absolutely.
that. Go ahead, DJ.
No, I was just going to give you one kind of a formulaic thing that you might want to try as you think about interviewing. And it's really simple. It's just situation, action, and result. So as you get questions that are posed to you, one, there's a couple of lifelines you can use during interviews. And one is just to breathe. Literally a deep breath, take it in. The interviewer only thinks you're just kind of like pondering the question anyway. And then the second lifeline is asking them to repeat the question. Even if you heard the question properly, it buys you time to think and calm your nerves. And then the acronym SAR, which is Situation, Action, Results, prior to going into interviews, and maybe you can do this in your practice when you're videotaping yourself with a friend or whatever, but make sure that you list out your core projects. It might be with clubs, it might be with your internship, things that you've accomplished, in that particular order. So what was the situation that you were in, right? What actions or impact, right, did you make? And then what were the results of your actions, right? And I think many times that will help you get through the interview in a very clear and concise way. And then going through that process of putting in the SAR format also gives you confidence that you can answer the questions. And so it also brings some of the nervousness down a bit.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'd also like to add, Jessica, I think I might have misheard you, but I believe you mentioned that you recently graduated and you're continuing to apply to internships. I don't believe that you will be able to get an internship if you've graduated. I believe most internships do require that you are a matriculated student currently enrolled. So at the point where you have graduated, I would probably consider not applying to any more internships, because it's likely not going to happen, and perhaps consider transitioning to openings that are either full-time or part-time roles that are not internships, but in fact are roles within the company.
Okay,
And
so
can I caveat that real quick? Unless you're applying for federal government, they're really weird because they have strict hiring procedures. And I actually had a buddy who was like, oh, we can bring you in, but through our internship program. And I'm like, I think I graduated a long time ago. I'm not an intern. And they're like, well, that's the way that we work around the system. So like federal agencies, they're a little weird. And if you're going for those jobs, it still might be a viable option. But to Albert's point, probably feel free to go for the entry-level role.
okay,
And look at the internships, because federal and local will have unpaid internships. Like within the city, we have unpaid internship that is actual for students that are still in college, that we cap it at 20 hours a week. But we do have a paid internship if you are a person that's looking to go to graduate school in the near future. So that we do hire recent graduates. We prefer them because they're 36 hours per week. Unfortunately, we have to be capped at that for now on. But there's some federal agencies that will hire recent graduates for internships as long as you mention that you are looking to go to graduate school in the future.
Okay, I see. Thank you so much, everybody.
All great information. Thanks for asking, Jessica. Jeremy, it looks like you had a question.
Oh, yes. So I'm also a recent graduate, and I've been looking, I've been mainly focusing my job searching efforts through CalCareers because I'd like a career in transportation policy or environmental policy. I was wondering if anyone here had any experience applying to CalCareers and just how long did it take? Because I think I submitted an application in August 1, but haven't heard back yet. So I was wondering, like, how long does it usually take to apply for a state job?
Government is slow. Unfortunately, yeah, they are so slow. And that's not a reflection of you. That is a reflection of how bad they are. Max, speak to that. How long, Max? Give us a fuzzy timeline.
Okay, so don't take it, Jeremy, do not take it personal. It's city, state, federal. They have two speeds, slow and very slow. Unless, God forbid, something happens and we need people now, you're looking at phase 1 of your application, 6 to 8 weeks, if everything goes well. Phase 2, you'll be called in for a technical interview, if they have it at that point. Depending on how you do it. I've actually interviewed multiple times for LA County for multiple positions. I got on their list and I got follow-up interviews, but never got hired until I found out that I was too low on the list because nobody tells you. So, but you can check with their HR department. They will have to tell you what the status is of your application. Sometimes it's on a hold. They might have sent you an email, they went to spam. If someone requires additional information for a specific position and you haven't responded, you got 90 days, I think. I'm not sure statewide if they change it or not. You got 90 days to respond. If you do not respond within 90 days, then they'll basically assume you do not want the job and you get put to the bottom of the pile. So I would suggest just give them a call, see, hey, we applied, is there any issues? I did something wrong? Can you please let me know if I have to do anything? I would give them a call.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good advice. I just assumed that I just had to wait, but yeah, that's good advice. Thank you.
And just know at the career fair on the 22nd, if you attend, there's multiple state agencies that are represented. They may not necessarily be exactly in the arena that you've applied to, but you could still ask those questions too. And they can put a name and a face there and maybe they'll make a call out in the quad area and find out about your status. So I would kind of do it all. Looks like, thanks for asking, Jeremy. Great question. Jesse?
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much. So my question is, I'm also a newly graduate alumni. So my question is, my major was in HR and I have executive assistant experience, but as I'm trying to looking for also executive assistant job, I found there's a lot of competitors. So what I'm just wondering, based on your experience, what qualities stand out for you if in your role, looking at candidates is trying to apply for executive assistant? If among so many, which top 3 quality would you like focus on to choose?
I can take a pass at this one if you like. And because we've hired several executive assistants and it sounds really interesting, but like the executive assistant role is actually a pretty hard role to fill because typically you're trying to match this person with an executive who has their laundry list of wishes and desires that they want this person to be. And so, you know, understanding some of that is also part of the trick of the trade. But I think the other piece would be, you know, one would probably just be the ability to kind of handle a pretty hectic calendar for an individual, right? And understanding how to balance understanding what's
Mhm.
important, your ability to prioritize what's important, because you're going to be asked, you know, people will be asking you, hey, can you schedule on top of this? My meeting is more important, and so forth. I think the other piece is just communication skills, very, very key, that you can communicate at all levels, right, of the organization. It's not just with the executive that you're dealing with, it's their skip level up. It's also, you know,
Right.
their team that reports into them, and also cross-functional partners will also
Mhm.
be, you know, regular engagements with those individuals. So it's really, really key. And then I think thirdly, technology, right? So there's technology that comes with the executive assistant role, may it be travel and booking, may it be scheduling systems. Some executive assistants actually do reporting as well. Not quite sure, it depends on the role. So those would be the ones that stand out to me based upon my experience recruiting for executive assistants.
Thank you, DJ.
Mhm.
Also, I heard some suggestion is to get a notary certified, because some corporation, they might need it.
I do know executive assistants personally who actually have gotten a notary. I think that depends once you get in, though. I'm not sure if that would be a requirement, but I don't think it could hurt you. But I don't know that I would go out and go get one just to apply to a role. I would wait and see if that's something that's a requirement.
I see. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from anyone? These are really, really good questions from our attendees today.
Don't be shy. We're here for you.
I wanted to make a quick note about Jeremy's question. The length that it may take to apply to perhaps state or other government roles. So yeah, it's certainly going to take a long time, oftentimes, as many have mentioned. But I might even encourage you to reach out to the hiring manager, perhaps on LinkedIn or email, and maybe express your enthusiasm for the role. And something that I mentioned earlier is why, very specifically, go through the job listing, and in that enthusiastic email or LinkedIn message, write out why you might be the most appropriate suitability for that role. I know that this is a strategy that, for one reason or another, it just turned out, it worked out for me. So I can at least attest that it was a successful strategy. And I do believe having a proactive role in reaching out, you know, highly specific to that hiring manager went a long way, a great deal in my ability to gain an internship over a year ago.
Oh, thank you, Albert. I was wondering, because you said that I could send a LinkedIn message. Would it also be okay to send it to their work email that they use?
I would say that that's another professional route out. Absolutely. I guess the challenge might be is, how are you going to find out who the hiring manager is? That's probably going to be the biggest difficulty. However, if you do know who it is, then yeah, I probably would reach out to them. Again, be active rather than passive, and I think your chances of success do increase.
All right, thank you. Very good advice. Thank you.
Well, I don't see any other hands going up. So perhaps we can end just a couple of minutes early. I want to thank all of the panelists for volunteering your time and giving such great advice to students. I learned quite a number of things. Again, one additional plug, please attend the Fall Career Fair if you're looking for jobs. I know that we're a little bit smaller group of staff in the Career Center now, and I'm pretty booked up until and through the Career Fair. But I do host drop-in advising in person Mondays from 1 to 3. So come on by the Career Center before the fair if you want me to take a quick look at your resume or answer some quick questions. If you've already graduated, you can certainly log on to the Career Center homepage and create that alumni account so you can always have access to Handshake, and you can register for the event and look up everything, because at some point you'll lose your Cal Poly email address. So again, and thank you, Natalie, for putting my LinkedIn. I was able to link in with a few individuals who were here tonight. And again, thanks to the panelists for all of your great information. I really, really enjoyed the panel. And hopefully all the students got some really, really useful information. So everybody have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I did put a couple there. We have our Cal Poly LinkedIn page. We have our Instagram. We're not to TikTok yet, okay? That's maybe one day goal. But follow us. We're here to help. Sherry, thanks again so much for being part of this event. You're a wonderful moderator. And Hortensia and Andrea, thank you for supporting and facilitating all of this. Have a great evening, guys.